We got a busy show today. The head coach of the Bison is in studio about some news that happened yesterday. Tim Polasek will lead it off. Hot Mic starts now.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota. Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Wednesday morning. Welcome to the day before we, stuff our faces. Apparently watch Polisek's Packers play the Lions tomorrow. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Hot Mic on a Wednesday morning, 26th of November, 2025. There's no easing into our show this morning. We got the head football coach of the Bison here in studio. Apparently there was some news yesterday, missed that, that Tim Polasek agreed to a contract extension, 7-year deal through 2033. First off, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. It's been, let's just start. What's the last couple days been like?
Just phenomenal.
You can pull that closer to you.
Phenomenal as far as, exciting, all of it. I mean, just to be able to know that we get to coach the football team with no distractions on some things, and that's what Mr. Larson and I have had a lot of communication. I just would say it even probably started maybe even Northern Iowa week, just forecasting, hey, this session of the coaching hires and the coaching carousel, there's never been anything like this. When you throw in like rev share, the amount of money that's out there, it's going to be an explosive session of this hiring process for coaches. And I got to be honest, we're maybe open to some things, but this is where we want to be. And I love this football team. And I'm talking about how we practice. I'm talking about the way the coaches are growing and developing, the relationships that we have. And it's so unique right now that Jill and I can put that to the forefront. I think, Jeff Kopak has mentioned this, money's a big deal. But money is also not the driving force behind why I got in it. And I still recognize that when I started here, I made $6,000, and then I was happy about getting 18,000, and then I was happy about getting 30. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's just been really exciting to know that the university feels strongly about our staff and our leadership that we have going on in football. But I'm most excited about the response from the players. When I walked into the indoor and I got a few hugs, that kind of made some things like that we did the right thing. And so with this moving forward, obviously you just never know, but this really shuts the door on a lot of things. And it really says that NDSU, the administration, myself, we're committed to being here.
I know you said your agent was fielding a lot. How many schools did you talk to directly?
That's interesting, right? I won't get into specifics about schools, but a couple, most certainly. And that's why you have representation. I mean, so that they can work and they're doing stuff and they present to you and you say no on most of it, quite frankly. And that's kind of what occurred, is just as he gathered information. And then the search firm thing, I just didn't realize, you're not talking to schools. You're talking to the search firm that's talking to the schools. And man, that got to be, it never caused a distraction. We did football first and then carved out time before work or after work, that kind of thing. But, it was a few. I just was worried that it was going to end up being, this was going to be a distraction. And we need to be focused on trying to win this game next week.
What were you hearing from the other schools? I'm assuming the first one is how many players can you bring with you, right?
Yeah, it's that's interesting. I mean, as you feel again, the search firms kind of provide some questions, generally speaking, some questions that are going to come up and those kind of things. And as I'm going down the thing, man, I like interviewing, I like talking, I like doing this. And I'm like, okay, I can come up with an answer for that. I don't know if I believe it in my heart, though. And so things like, well, who would come with you? what coaches? Well, I haven't even had those discussions, and I don't know how I would have a team meeting and say, okay, whoever wants to come with, and so that just kind of concerned me, just thinking about those things. But yeah, those kind of questions come up.
I know we've talked frankly about FBS potential. I guess the best way to say it was there a not guarantee, but a blueprint laid out that North Dakota State has a imminent path to FBS for you to sign on here? Well,
no, I mean, I can't. I just know in my heart. I've always believed this. I believe in my heart, some way, shape, or form, someday, that's going to happen. And what I told Matt is, there's really no discussions going on, like specifics. But I said, Matt, I would hate to be on another sideline watching somebody else have success at North Dakota State as they move up. So Jill and I we're willing to kind of see what happens with that. There's so much conversation and so much conjecture on those things until something's solid. I don't have any comments on that really, but the outside shot that we're a school that people should look at, just makes me feel even better about being here.
What was maybe the misconception going through this process that people didn't know about North Dakota State? What did you have to educate them on? Or you're like, boy, you have no idea.
How sticky we are, and how committed we all are to being Bison. Our kids, listen, as challenging as this is, I can tell you for our top 15 to 18 guys, as I have discussions with those guys, the amount of people that are hitting these guys up, agents and false information versus, but the one thing I know through going through this process, is I'm much more comfortable talking to our kids that this is a great situation to be developed, to win some ball games, to have a shot to win some more, and then for you to reach your full potential. It's a little shaky. It's a little bit shaky out there putting together a squad and, doing this or that at another place. I really enjoy what we got going on here.
What did you have to hear from Matt to say this is okay, long term, I want to sign off on?
That's interesting. There's not necessarily a dollar amount, and we're still working through getting that all really finalized. It was the years. I believe Jerry Kill told me something once when he visited NDSU. Years are much more important than money. And Rod Carey reiterated that for me last week. He went up to Jake Landry's, family celebration. And Rod and me had a conversation, and I just said, he said, Tim, you're winning games, you're developing good people, and he goes, you love it there. You love the people, you love selling the program, you've developed relationships with the media. And so it was more just the years and just the commitment to each other. And that was the biggest thing. And, it's interesting. I've really enjoyed getting to know Colleen, on a personal level, getting to know Todd, getting to know Derek, Jack Mon, Emily, Derek. And so we have a good team. And I like that. I like the comfort of driving to my house, knowing what tomorrow is going to present and the work that needs to get done.
When you hear the amount of fan reaction over the last couple of days, just freaking, the bleep out about what does that mean to you? Then the reaction that found out the news yesterday.
It's everything. The support that whether it's Facebook or the support on Twitter. I think it was 180 texts or so, and they're kind of coming in still now. No, it means everything, and it just goes to show you we got to keep winning, keep doing a good job, make everybody proud of what we're doing. I don't take that lightly. We haven't slipped up, much in 2 years, and just kind of keep the pressure on the team to continue to get better. But I don't know. That's for Jill and I, this is home. It was always going to be, and I kind of mentioned to her too, if we want to come back here 10 years from now, we better make good decisions because these people do matter a lot to me, and I really appreciate Bison Nation.
Does it seem ironic or weird you and Viggs are doing this together again?
Yeah, well, I don't know if people know, but, I kind of had a sniff at the Montana State thing, and I was at Iowa. That was interesting because that was going to be a pretty substantial pay decrease, from Iowa to there. And I was in it, and Viggs whooped me at the time. And I remember us talking right afterwards, or in the middle of it. Quite frankly, in the middle of that thing, it took a turn. We both were kind of, the holiday season and stuff. We were even having a beer together over the phone, and we were just having fun with it. Yeah. And the next thing I know, the next day, it turned for Brent, and I was so happy for him and so forth. But I don't know exactly who's all in it, and sometimes Twitter can be like, holy smokes, they're out in front of it, they're all over it. But on the other hand, they're way off. There's going to be other people involved on things that come out of left field.
Yeah. To go through this, and did you reach out to anybody? Like you've interviewed, obviously you interviewed other jobs, you interviewed for this job. In this process over the last couple of days, were you reaching out to, hey, this is different now. People are seeking me out for a higher level position?
No, I want to say, I do want to take this opportunity. Thayer Evans, my representation, in the off season, he does such a great job of preparing and staying ahead of the trends that I felt really good about all that stuff. And then, quite frankly, I just will come back to how excited we are to kind of shut that stuff all down.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the big thing. That was the purpose of getting the extension done now, so that we can focus on the team. But no, with anything that would come up in the future or whatever, I'll be prepared. We do it every day with you guys, and we're very consistent in our messaging and our core value beliefs, and then how we want to teach and the teaching principles. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to. But some of this other stuff, this nuanced stuff, NIL, are you going to hire a GM? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? Do you have a GM? Who's your right-hand man on campus there that helps you connect? Well, Derek Lang is doing some things, these people, that people. And so fundraising, those kind of things all come up all the time. But he does a good job of representing myself, and we're on the same page now moving forward.
For people that don't understand, I talk about it every day on the show, how crazy the world is right now in your sport, especially with signing days next week. So how much has that accelerated everything? Because we got to have a coach, because we got to know if these guys are going to sign with us or if we got to go find 80 guys to our team.
Yeah, well, the portal provides some comfort that you could do some things outside of that. I mean, I don't know, just even watching Lane Kiffin's thing, and hearing Nick Saban talk about college football has to blow up their calendar, to some extent, because this is not fair for the kids. That's the bottom line. And it's not fair to coaches that are totally vested.
Yeah.
They're not just chasing dollars, It's interesting, just the timelines of all this stuff more than anything else, of when things happen. It just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit for the CF, the college football playoff. Nope. It doesn't fit for the FCS playoffs.
No, certainly
it really
not.
don't fit for developing a team and getting better during a bowl prep. And so I just think that's unique. And then signing date where it sits, I had a good call with a kid, last night that has had some Big Ten opportunities come up, and he's going to stick with us. And it's just like, can we just get to next week and make sure these guys stay put?
Yeah. And I'm sure they're calling you, hey, what are you doing? Right? They're asking you what's going on, coach?
A couple of the guys have, but kids they're in basketball now.
Yeah.
It's like our freshmen are going through this. They're so happy to get to go home for Thanksgiving. And I'm so happy they get to do that.
Yeah.
That I'm so happy our seniors provided that opportunity that we got to buy.
Mm-hmm.
But these guys typically be getting ready for wrestling, basketball, whatever it is. And we hope to have 4-5 more weeks together. Yeah. And so they got to dig in. And so our kids on our team were really aware
of what was going on.
And then when I got the extension, and even the equipment girls and people coming up and giving me a hug and congratulating us, there were some real smiles. You could tell I didn't realize it prior to that, but there was a sense of relief from the players.
What do you make of that?
The kids are really aware. I mean, they're thinking about a lot of stuff. They have a lot of people coming at them too. And maybe they're thinking like, well, if there's changes here.
Correct.
I don't know. Water. Yes. Yeah. There's blood in the water. Otherwise, I do believe the majority of our team is going to look to the right and look to the left, and these are my brothers. This is my family. Let's continue this.
And you had mentioned that to me as well. Like, you had talked with your main 15 guys, whatever you want to say. Hey, let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it rolling. How much of was that reiterated maybe last night after it went down?
I'll say this too. The Green and Gold Collective did a good job getting us up and running, but the position that we're in now, and the ability to have conversations in November, middle of November, with let's call it our top 20. Our top 20 guys to say, hey, this is how we're seeing some things. You're still in a battle for tier 1 or tier 2, but you're going to need to be an ambassador for this program. And this is what it looks like. I can tell you with confidence that like 12 of those guys almost jumped out of the couch, when we're sitting there talking and like, Coach, that's so cool. I'm going to be able to do some things. I'm going to be able to start some stuff. I mean, there's some money there.
Yeah.
That wasn't there necessarily last year. And Jay did such a good job of, pushing and scrambling around and making some things happen. But now we are set up where we're going to do this annually, and we're going to be able to work from the fall to December, and then who's coming back in January, and people will be rewarded.
One more thing before we're going to break. The story that Pete Thamel had out yesterday said additional program resources. Can you outline maybe what that would be in terms of this extension and what that might entail?
Well, I don't know what he's talking about because I don't know what information he has, but I just know that I really like where we're at with the Green and Gold Fund.
Yeah.
Thank you to anybody that's joined that. I think it's a something that you should look at joining. I think all our single season ticket holders should fast think about becoming a season ticket holder. I believe that. We're going to provide some more, resources and events and things that they can be part of, starting with being at practice, putting the headset on, listening to what the quarterback's saying. We've worked hard at that, and I think we're just scratching the surface. But some of these people, and I don't want to, I'm not going to say names, but, when you're on a pontoon boat with really good friends, and it's Matt Larson and Derek Lang and family, and they look and they say, Coach, we're going to help the Bison no matter what, but if you're the ball coach, it's a big deal to us. And I want to say thank you. And that's just one story. There's so many. And there's so many great connectors that we have that are real friends that connect us to these people. And those are the guys that I value the most. And it's been great. It's a breakfast here or there. It's a lunch. Yeah. But how about Dan and Grant? Dan Larson and Grant Olson, they're doing it on the football side right now, and I'm doing this other stuff.
Should we test football when we come back?
Yes, let's do it.
All right.
This has been fun.
A little bit more here with Tim Polasek joining us right off the hop on Hot Mike. We'll take our first break as we're off and rolling. Back with the head Bison coach right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Emails are flowing in here. I'll read a couple. Coach, I can say on behalf of Bison Nation, we're jacked that Coach Polasek is the head coach for the foreseeable future. I got a couple other ones. This one I know you'll love to take on the Mountain West. Well, you know that league. You know it quite well, obviously, from your time in Wyoming on what that potentially would North Dakota State would fit in, I think.
North Dakota State would probably fit in okay.
Yeah. Should we actually talk football? You want to do that here for a few minutes? I know you love talking ball. All right, so no surprise you got the number one. What's the schedule now for the guys here between now and next Saturday?
Yeah, well, we focused as a staff. We focused for 2 days on Southeast Louisiana because of our knowledge on Illinois State. We feel really good about knowing them. I mean, Brock has been there forever, so not this Illinois State could win, but we feel good about getting back here later in the week and working on them a little bit. Dan's got a really good idea with their run. Their run defense is pressure, and so they're going to work some of that stuff again today. But that we did that as a staff. We did take Sunday off, and so we were in Monday. But the kids practice. We put pads on Monday. I put this plan together 3 weeks ago. So I thank the team and the leadership for putting us in position, winning Northern Iowa and winning against St. Thomas. And so I knew we weren't going to play 80 snaps with our starters against St. Thomas and or Northern Iowa. And so we pushed them last Monday. And then yesterday was a really physical, fast, competitive, 2-minute drill, some pass under pressure stuff. And then today's going to be a lot of good-on-good work, and we're going to open that up to the media for the first 30 minutes, and then we'll go in some scouted looks. But then, quite frankly, I'm just super excited to get to the Delta, and we appreciate everything they do for our team lunch for Thanksgiving. Yeah. But then our kids are off Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, Friday. We'll bring them back Saturday night for a sweat. So somewhere in there late Saturday night we'll be practicing, and then we're practicing Sunday.
Okay.
Monday will be a critical third down day. And then actually Tuesday will be our players' day off. So they'll have some players only like meetings to go through some film. Wednesday will be the gold zone, preparation, goal line, that kind of stuff. And then basically Thursday and Friday will be the same as it always is.
Okay.
Run-throughs.
Okay. And then it's on to...
And then we're on to Saturday. We got to get going.
When you saw that 6 teams made it, I know you and I actually talked about this. I think I asked you at a press conference a couple weeks ago about it. Were you surprised at all or no?
Well, no, this thing about fair, I don't know. We get caught up in participation trophies. You got to go out there and perform in your leagues. The leagues across the country have a responsibility to play good football week in and week out. And I just was watching, let's call it from week 5 or 6 to week 10. man, there was some back and forth in our conference. And there were some hard, difficult predictions. There were some upsets. There were some teams that didn't show up. There were some teams that played. It's interesting. I very rarely, but let's give some credit to the job South Dakota did. I mean, I think these guys are, based on the all-conference meeting, they got some guys playing good football on defense. They're running the ball. That coach did a great job. I mean, I think Eric, they just haven't pushed through a couple of these games.
Yeah.
But they had an unbelievable resume when you look at their 5 losses. Yeah. Toughest schedule in the country. No, not shocked at all. And then, like, Southern Illinois goes out there and plays the way they do, and you could darn near make an argument that I'm not sure 7 teams in the Missouri Valley won't win first-round games.
Oh, I would agree with that.
Yes.
Yes.
And so I'm excited to be one of the schools that get to represent our conference. It's the best conference in FCS. It's not even close.
With the all-conference, I had to submit my ballot. You can't vote for any Bison as well, correct?
Yeah.
So who'd you vote for quarterback then?
Bo,
run guard. Yes.
And I won't comment on any other position, but he played so well against us.
Yes.
And he's been, stat-wise, it's unique. And they got a lot of talent around him, too.
Yep.
I mean, 2 running backs are pretty good.
Wide receivers
the
pretty
receiver's
good.
pretty good. The all-purpose guy.
Yep.
And I think their O-line's doing a pretty good job. It's interesting. I'm going to take a deeper dive on them at some point. Like, what causes their ups and downs? Is it a lack of explosive plays? Is it a lack of production when, Bo gets flushed and that kind of stuff?
When you see and you've done this before with, how much are you going to watch the game, the Illinois State Steeler game on Saturday, or is like, whoever wins, we're ready to prepare for that?
No, the coach we'll have it on almost in every room. We'll have it up on every TV monitor. We have 3 or 4 TVs like in the hallways. It'll be on, but honestly, I'll be looking more at prep as far as the calendar, the schedules, when to push these guys, how to push them, what are the things that we're going to need the following week.
Yeah.
We'll be doing a deep dive on that Saturday. That's what I'll be doing. But right along with that, just finalizing, looking at some more cut-ups and stuff of both teams.
Going back to what we were talking about in our first segment, is this a relief to have it done so you can get back to what you love to do?
Yeah, and that includes getting home on Thursday after date night and watching some Netflix or the NFL game with Jill and, like, not having to talk about things. I mean, right, this is wild stuff. So you'd have to pack it all up again, and then you got to buy a house, or you're not going to buy a house, or no, it's a huge relief. And then on top of it, just be able to look people in the eyes and, like, guys, we're good. And that means so much to me. I struggle when I can't be honest or when I can't say what's on my mind or my heart, and share stuff. And so now we'll be talking about Bison football and Bison football players.
So between now and I got to actually ask about the video that yesterday that came out, the guys jumping in the snow. Was that reaction to finding out your news, or is that tradition that happens?
No, that's
up there?
tradition.
Okay.
The snow angels, the first time it snows, it's part of winter camp.
Yeah.
We got this thing now, we got winter camp, and our vets have to fill in the young guys. Like, they're going to push, and they're going to expect you to get better.
Push back.
Yeah,
right?
I had 15 meetings the last 2 days with, walk-on type guys, walk-on type guys, but also, like, the backup right guard. The right guard that's doing a good job down in the scout team. Can he take the next step? That center that's been down there in the scout team is doing some really good things. Those kind of guys to say, hey, I would not sleep on this opportunity if we get 4 or 5 weeks at football. You better start extending yourself. And then we go into spring, and some things are going to be determined.
You mentioned, I've heard this term from you and I've now other coaches about moving the program forward. Is that a new term out there in terms of, like, hey, we like you, but there's other guys that are maybe pushing for your spot? Is that a new trend out there, especially with NIL and the portal being so prevalent now?
Well, let's call it new.
Okay.
But in Coach Bowles' eyes, that would have been simply double repping.
Okay.
And giving everybody an opportunity to be coached, evaluated, truly an opportunity. Like, this is the one thing for certain. In any program run by Coach Bowl or myself, no kid can come in and say, I haven't been given an opportunity. That's not true. And you've been coached, and you've had opportunities. Actually, here you're 20. You made 2, and you didn't make the other 18. Yeah. But what I'm talking about is heading off some of this other stuff. When I say moving the program forward, we're trying to account for injury. We're trying to account for somebody leaving in the portal, which I don't want one of our guys to go in there. but somebody leaving in the portal, constantly moving things forward and being a problem solver right now of things that are going to happen next fall or January 10th. And that's what I mean when I'm talking about that. In the race to maturity that I talk about, we're just no longer horse and buggy here. Okay, we are now on a NASCAR track, and this thing's moving. And you maybe you don't get 3 years anymore, you get 2 to solidify your spot. Otherwise, you're going to have conversations with players and let them know where they stand and things need to change, or we're really happy with what you're doing and you're going to get more responsibility and ownership.
The portal being moved to January, does that help? I think I can't remember where you were on because we talked about this so often. If you wanted in the spring with one or where it ended up being in early January.
I was impartial in my head because of our ability to play late.
Yep.
I thought the spring thing would be great. Okay, let's get to the spring, and then if that means in June, okay, this is the 2026 Bison team, and then we have to adjust some things around camp or push for OTAs. All right, we can do that.
So be it. Yeah.
Yes. The difficult part about the January window, if we're playing in Nashville,
yep.
I mean, we're going to have 6 days to find a couple. I don't think we're going to be in there looking for 80 like some of these people.
Yeah.
But when school starts, that's complicated. Do you start January 17th or do you start the 13th?
Right.
And then can a kid get all his stuff, moved into an apartment, get here on time, or are they going to miss a week of school and the school will allow you to still get them in? So that just all those gymnastics cause a little bit of conflict.
All right, couple last things here. I really appreciate you coming by here today. What was one thing on the last couple days made you just sit and like, wow, this is coming from when you got here in 2006 to now being sought after as an FBS coach? Was there something that just made you pause and like, man, this has been something else here?
Just the speed of it, and like how things. When you're an assistant coach, you don't know what Coach Polasek's doing over at Matt Larson's office and what they're talking about and the different things that come up. So just the speed in which I really like the straightforwardness that Matt approached us with. Hey, this is what we want to do. But I want to say this and make sure this is perfectly clear. We had that lunch scheduled before any of this stuff. We always have a season-ending deal, and that was one of the first things that Matt said. Everything we're going to talk about is based on what you've done for 2 years and your impact on the community, the fact that you and Jill are really happy here. So whether there was other things going on or not, which Matt was obviously aware of, but I think that their thought process here with all this stuff was in line prior to any conversations with anybody else.
Packers play tomorrow.
Yes.
What do we make of that with the Lions tomorrow?
Well, that's awesome. Get to watch Coach roll coach.
Yeah.
Get to watch some Packers, really, the whole game. We don't get to do that much as a college coach. But Thanksgiving's awesome. It's one of my favorite. Back home we used to always play a tackle football game, and hopefully it was snowing and those kind of things. But, we're going to get together with our family here. Jill and I'm saying the NDSU family.
Nice.
And so we're real appreciative of people having us over for that, and it's going to be a fun day.
You're not cooking tomorrow?
No, and I didn't cook Saturday night either. They got invited to Harry's, and that was unbelievable. That's a great addition for Fargo.
Yeah.
Harry's is going to be awesome.
All right.
We had a good time.
I know, because you and I compare our suits all the time. Halberstadt, Tim always goes in when I go in there and he tells me, hey, this is what I'm like. Well, I'm not doing that. It's the worst thing if I'm interviewing you. We're wearing the same. That's not going to look good on television at all. So
no, Tim has been outstanding for me. The Halberstadts in the mall is fantastic. They let me in the back door, and he pushed this outfit on me, but I really do appreciate because Jill don't help me at all. She hates anything to do with my suits or sports coats, but they do such a great job there, and their service, right? I mean, their customer service is first class, and then they have such a good feel for what's trending and not trending. And I got to try to do as good as Dave. That's the key.
Well, sometimes the basketball's got it easy. They could show up in quarter zips, and that's it. They're all good to go.
Growing up, my favorite thing about basketball was that guy looks so in control because he's in a suit.
Yeah.
I miss that. Dave's got to get the suit back on the sidelines.
All right, there it is. It's on tape. So we can play that for him next time he's on the show. Thanks so much for coming by. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next week. All right?
Yeah, thank you, and I appreciate you having me on, and go Bison.
Tim Polasek joining us here to lead off the show on this Wednesday morning. We'll break. We come back. We'll get things started and unpack the rest of our Wednesday spectacular. Back on Hot Mic on this Wednesday morning right after this. All right, that's a heck of a way to start a show, isn't it? So, in all disclosure on that, we had, I think, lined that up at about 2 o'clock yesterday, and then obviously, whatever it was, 2:45, the Pete Thamel story broke that Polasek was going to sign an extension through 2033. Let me read again the exact language that Thamel tweeted out on this. And again, Tim was about as upfront as he's going to be on as what he can say. The deal includes a significant raise, additional staff money, and more program resources. Matt Larson put out a statement soon after this became official. After several productive conversations with Coach Polasek, we've affirmed our commitment to both him and the long-term success of Bison football. Tim has agreed in principle to a contract extension and will remain head coach of the Bison. Coach Polasek's impact on the football program over 12 seasons, and especially the past 2 seasons as our head coach, has been remarkable. I'm happy he and Jill are staying home at NDSU as we focus our energy on the upcoming FCS playoffs. Right now, I want to say with the incentives policy, I think I added this up right, we're close to $500,000. So if we're gonna throw money out here, it's got to be close to $1 million, like we were talking about with Kopak last week. And there's a couple of branches I want to go down on this, and we'll talk some non-Bison football stuff later on the show. But this is what everyone's talking about today. It's awesome we had him here to lead off the show, because to me, if Oregon State was real, all right, it's as real as it gets. Colorado State was real. Colorado State now went and hired Jim Mora Jr. If you didn't see that late last night, that came down to about 10:45, 10:50 last night, that CSU, I think, was certainly waiting on Oregon State. If Polasek was going to take the Oregon State, get one way or the other, they were going to go after Tim if Oregon State didn't pan out. I think we can put 2 and 2 together on that. And why would he stay? Because I asked him about the Mountain West deal, and I think you cannot stick your head in the sand on this. And I know for UND fans and Jackrabbit fans will watch the program like, oh, here we go. Izzo's talking about, use some reasoning here, okay? Why would he stay if that wasn't at least on the table of being potential? I'm not saying that there's something ready in the offices in Las Vegas, that's where the Mountain West is, that is ready to happen. But you got to know that at least, and I think he admitted that, like, hey, there would be something here that we can potentially move forward with. Then, yeah, that's something he wants to be a part of. He said he didn't want to be on the other sideline of facing a team that has moved up. And, again, we've talked about this, man. This is a topic. You want to talk about the most talked about things we've had on the history of this show. That's going to be right near the very top, about North Dakota State and FBS football. But that would make a heck of a lot of sense. Now, the people that I have talked to on this story, I know McFeely's done the lion's share of the work. I've been there as well doing it. That I would tell you, the ones that usually would either scoff at it, haven't necessarily scoffed this time around, if that makes sense. So I don't know if there's smoke there, but I think you have to draw some conclusions on, well, this isn't just another extension, right? This isn't just a pay bump. I think there's the wording of this, and especially the wording of Thamel's tweet, and again, you're going to start parsing words here, you have to put 2 and 2 together. There might be something significant happening with the future of Bison football. And I don't know when, but we know last fall the Bison were certainly being discussed, right? And they end up going the route of Northern Illinois with a football-only invite. Good luck with that. And they added UTEP. You have to know and think that seeing that out there and the Bison are ripping off wins and Polasek's doing what he's doing with this program and going to produce another first-round pick, that there's got to be something in the pipeline on this coming. Maybe if we're just being conspiracy theorists as well and we're talking out of our, you know what, that wouldn't be the first time either, but just use some deductive reasoning here. Use some common sense to think that this makes too much sense then, because I put out 3 things yesterday I tweeted out on why this is happening, right? And the last one was about FBS. There had to be something that he and Larson discussed, saying it's not in paper, maybe it's a handshake agreement or something is coming that FBS football is not that far off. That to me would seem like the most logical conclusion on that. The amount of responses that this came out, and we read a few of them when he was here on the air. And here's another one. Coach, does your contract extension and NDSU's commitment to adding more resources to the program have anything to do with moving up to the FBS? I think we asked that. He's not going to answer that directly, but I think there's something to be said about it. I would tell you, though, once being on social media yesterday, once the news broke, I mean, this is different. Again, there's been an emotional attachment to Polasek that has not been there with the previous coaches. Craig Bohl was revered. He was the CEO of the program to take him from Division II to heights that no one ever thought possible in Division I. They beat the University of Minnesota twice when Bohl was the head football coach, right? And when Craig left in the start of the 2013 playoff run, it was shocking. We hadn't gone through this before. Like, wow, why would Craig ever leave? And I think a lot of people were mad. I think that finally subsided last year when Bohl went into the Bison Hall of Fame. It took 10 years. Then Chris Kleiman comes in, and Kleiman, all he does is win almost everything, right? Kleiman wins 4 championships. They go unbeaten his last season. They beat Iowa during his time here and take the program even to another set of heights. And again, when Chris left, he was going with Gene Taylor, old friend, to go to Kansas State. There was just it was like when James Monroe was president, the era of good feelings around it. Matt Entz comes in. All he does is take with Trey Lance to become the greatest freshman season in the history of FCS football. They go 16-0. The pandemic waylaid everything. You know, Matt won a title again in 21 after that stupid spring season, and program then took some shots. And Matt left, and I think there were a lot of people. Bison football was in a malaise then. Bison were still good. Heck, they made the semifinals, Entz's last game. But there was a sense of malaise, and the program was just, I don't know, stuck in neutral. And in the minute Polasek, I'm telling you, folks, Polasek got hired the third week of December, right? It was right before Christmas. And this, I don't know if I've ever shared this story. He calls me because he's hiring out his staff or whatever, and I'm texting him just a couple things, and he just, hey, we're doing this. And exactly the way he talked today was how he spoke to me. I'm like, wow, this is different. This is going to be, I don't know, like energetic. And it certainly was that way from the minute the calendar flipped to 2024 and when spring ball got going and I'm out there for the first couple of practice, like, oh, this is intense. This is a different deal here. And obviously we saw it and how it played out last year. And I think he has not shied away from any opportunity. If there's something they need him to speak at, he's there. That goes a long way. I remember that winter of 24, right? Long before he had coached a game yet here. He's out in wherever, North Dakota. He was up in Rowlett. He was everywhere making a tour of the state. That went a long way. I really did. He's done some things that previous coaches just didn't want to do, never thought of doing. I think that is a direct correlation to why the emotional reaction when his name was out there and to what you've seen over the last 18 hours. You cannot deny that, because it never was like this with the other coaches. And he even said it, a sense of relief that this is over and done with. And I would caution this now. We don't know the deal yet. I would imagine there's going to be a hefty buyout attached to this. But that won't stop if there's another potential job that is to his liking. Oregon State is a tough job to win at. Colorado State was one, and I think I said it when the job opened, that might be tough to say no to. A, the amount of money. B, access, and this is a McFeely line, access to winning that you could have there. I mean, our guy Tim Miles did a heck of a job and ended up getting a Big Ten gig out of that, you know. And this is not to say this is over and done with. I mean, the silly season is... Are we in the middle of it? We're not at the end of it, because I think there's probably still some more jobs to open. Obviously, Lane Kiffin, he's even addressed Lane Kiffin here, has got this going on at Ole Miss. That could crank everything up again. You know, Penn State is open. There's some other. So, I don't know. Is NDSU out of the woods? Probably for this hiring cycle, but we could be right back here next year. I think people were just 2 years doesn't seem like that long a time. And Tim also said it. He said the money wasn't the deal, was the years was the deal. I think money also probably is okay. I think we all can assume that is accurate. You know, we live in a capitalist society. You want to make as much money as you can, go for it if you can. So that's just my 2 cents on it. Is it over and done with? Probably for this cycle, question mark. I think Bison fans can probably breathe a little bit easier here. You just don't know what else is going to come down the pipe. But it does show, from NDSU side of things, a commitment here that has not been illustrated before. And I think, again, that's what points me to believing that there's something bigger than just, hey, we want to go to Nashville and win the FCS championship. That there's something, a bigger fish is out there. And it has to. What's the only one left? The only one left is FBS football. That's it. There's nothing left out there that would be. They've done everything else. They've done everything else at this level. They've beaten FBS teams, right? They can't get another one scheduled for another 3 years. I mean, how many more championships you want them to win at this level? I'm sure for some fans there's never enough. And this constant blowback that we've gotten, well, I don't want to see our team play into the middle of December on Tuesday night. Okay, sign me up for another trip to Murray then? I mean, come on. Yeah, the playoffs are fun, but okay, let's just say, we'll go out on a limb, Illinois State wins this game. Oh, Illinois State, they've been here before. You know what I mean? Like, I'm all for new blood. That's when I see the bracket come out, like, okay, is there a possibility there's some new teams that come here? A-okay. That's what I'm left doing for my job. It's not about me, I get it, but just look at the breadth of this. And again, your only conclusion is NDSU is looking at something bigger than just a normal ho-hum extension for its football coach. All right, we're way overdue for a break. Let's take it here. We'll get caught up. We got a couple of fun guests coming up on our second hour. Tom Miller will join us in the Grand Forks Herald to preview UND's matchup with Tennessee Tech. We're going to have UND head coach Eric Schmidt join us on our Thanksgiving show tomorrow. Tyler Bormann will join us as well. Concordia men's basketball coach, defying the elements, driving back. It was not a fun drive out there this morning. I can tell you that coming into work. So be careful out there. But that's our second hour lineup here on a Wednesday morning. All right, we'll break, wrap up our first hour. Got some more emails coming in. We'll get to them as well. Glad you're joining us. Hot Mic on a Wednesday. We're back right after this. All right, wrapping up our first hour. Action-packed there to start. Here's the 3 things. I had to find it here that I tweeted out yesterday. My feed is blown up. Obviously huge with signing day next week. We intimated at that on our conversation with Tim, knowing that that's a week from today, our big signing day spectacular show. Looking forward to that. Commits obviously wanted to know. And I said he agrees to stay only if he knows something may be on the horizon with FBS. Has to be. I reiterate that. Just there has to be something that's been communicated between the league office and the people and the powers that be that, hey, we are saving a spot. We know about you. We're going to do it. Just hold off, right? Because then why not? Why would he not go? Money is what it is. Colorado State was waiting in the wings. If he said no to Corvallis, which I think we can safely assume he probably did, that Fort Collins was next up in the on-deck circle. Like, hey, we got you. Come on out. Because clearly they pivoted and went to Jim Mora Jr. in not too, like, whatever. That got announced at like 10:45 last night. You can put two and two together here, right? Let's all be adults about it and not put our head in the sand that that's exactly what was going on. Now it's just a matter of, okay, what happens next on this, right? But that our next piece of intel to get is to dive in to see what contract status is, what the numbers are, because I think everybody wants to know that. And in due time, we'll try and get that information out there. But as we sit here at 9:57 on the 26th of November, Tim Polasek is going to be the head football coach at North Dakota State for the foreseeable future. And that is something that I would have lost a bet on this time yesterday. I did not see that coming. But it is, I guess, signed. I don't know about sealed and delivered, but at least signed or agreement. Maybe a handshake, I guess, is maybe the best way to describe that. All right, let's break. We come back. We'll start our second hour. We'll get ready for this weekend's FCS playoff games. Tom Miller will join us coming up to start our second hour preview. UND's game in Cookeville against Tennessee Tech. That's coming up on the other side of the break. We're back after this.
This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Second hour, fast-moving Wednesday show. We're back with you tomorrow for our annual Thursday Spectacular. Kevin Feeney will join as head coach of the Spuds to unpack the thrilling state championship game. I know defeat to Edina. We'll get to that. That's coming up on the show tomorrow. And NFL picks with my dad a day early. We'll do that on the show tomorrow. So looking forward to our annual Thursday Thanksgiving Spectacular. That's on the show tomorrow. Part of the big games this weekend, you have football the next few days. This is the first day, though, we don't have any football on today in like 40 days. We're going to get a MAC game today for some reason. But we've got plenty coming up this weekend, including 8 FCS first-round games. 5 of them will include Missouri Valley Football Conference team. One of them is the University of North Dakota. They'll face Tennessee Tech coming up on Saturday in Cookeville, Tennessee. Our guy Tom Miller from the Grand Forks will be on his way, spending Thanksgiving weekend in Cookeville, Tennessee. Joins us this morning. All right, let's go back to Sunday, or actually Saturday. Leaving the Alaris, what did your gut tell you about them making the 24-team field?
Yeah, it felt like it was a long shot just because, I don't follow the national picture as well as you do, or, some of the people that try to put out bracketologies. But when you and Jeff didn't have UND in the field, I believe Craig Haley didn't have UND in the field. I think Sam Herder did.
Yep.
So, it was, once I saw those three, those are kind of the 3 brackets I'm curious about. And, once I saw that, it was like, okay, maybe it's they're kind of a 50-50 situation. What really shocked me is that the committee said that they weren't one of the 4 teams on the bubble. So I don't know. I think it was a really important message to send to the FCS, though, in my opinion. Like, if you exclude North Dakota, you're sending the message, don't play Montana. You're sending the message, go play another layup and get to, a certain number of wins, which to me felt like, wins shouldn't be created equal here. What are we doing?
This was so similar, I thought, to 2015, right? When they won 7, they had the FBS win that year and got left out on selection Sunday. That, okay, they're going to sweat this out again. But then digging into a little deeper after Kolpak and I did our show, and this is full disclosure, I'm like, I think UND might be more safely in than, not to the extent of what the committee had in, just that they might be on safer ground, but this is a whole new life now for them. They got to feel on cloud 9. They got a chance to play another football game.
Yeah, I think to some extent. I think there is just this level of like North Dakota seems to want to prove that they're not the team that collapsed again on Saturday. I think there's just kind of this, okay, we get an opportunity to go prove it. Maybe more so I get that vibe than like yes, we did it, celebratory vibe. It's just a kind of I think there's a bad taste in their mouths coming out of Saturday.
So let's go back, just unpack the Jackrabbit game, because there were moments there where UND had a chance to put the hammer down and frankly blow out SDSU, and a turnover, a touchdown, and then the game flipped completely after that. Yeah,
it was 20-7, and it just felt like, okay, if North Dakota can get one more play here, South Dakota State, because of their quarterback situation, it almost reminded me of like back in the Big Sky days, if you could get up on Cal Poly, you were going to really stress them because throwing the football was not what they wanted to do. I felt the same way with South Dakota State. If they were going to have to throw the ball a bunch, that was going to be really bad for them. Their best drive of the game is when they handed it off 16 times in a row and let poor Julius, what that kid,
Loffridge, yep.
Just let him get beat play after play after play. That was their best offense. And I think if they were going to have to throw the ball, that was going to be a really bad situation for them. So North Dakota not being able to pounce on that 20-7 situation, credit South Dakota State, kind of damning to North Dakota that, you lost to a team that for 95% of that game was deathly afraid to throw the football.
Just visiting with the guys afterwards, how down were they? I mean, this is another gut. I mean, a season of gut punches. That might have been the toughest one to take.
Yeah, and it was just it's one of those weird situations where you don't have the finality in the locker room. Like, half of those guys are just sitting there like, did I play my last college football game? I think there was just, they were stunned a little bit. And I know North Dakota's coaches were very frustrated with the way that they finished up there. You get South Dakota State in 3rd and 8, and you had Montana in 4th and 12, and you had South Dakota State in 3rd and 8, and there was just kind of a season of like one really key moment that you failed to execute, and it bites you. Yeah. So some new life here has been given to them, and I think that's what they're embracing here.
Let's get an injury update. What do we know on Gavin Zebarth and him playing on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, that's he dressed against South Dakota State, but I wonder if that was more of just a senior day nod. He didn't practice a ton during the week, was wearing a non-contact jersey. So I see that he or his family has indicated on social media that he's cleared to play. I wonder if UND's staff would have liked that to have been a little more quiet. But if I had to guess, you don't give the kid 12 carries coming back from a broken collarbone, but can he give you 6? Can he give you even 3? When he went out, North Dakota does not have, one of the worst situations for this UND offense is 1st and goal from the 4.
Yeah.
Which is very funny for a team that had the Quincy Vaughn, trick up its sleeve for the last 3 years. Now they, once Gavin got hurt, they just really haven't had an answer for short yardage situations. And did that cost them North Dakota State? Did it cost them South Dakota State? If UND could be really good inside the 10, the record could look a lot different.
Correct, Mundo. So Tennessee Tech is out of the Big South, Ohio Valley. They went unbeaten against FCS teams. Their only loss was to Kentucky, and yet for some reason the committee dropped them. We were talking about this off air, that TTU was 7th, I think, in the last ranking, and then on Sunday they're 13th and playing on Thanksgiving. Nobody's really giving me a good answer on that one, but we were visiting off air that I think they thought they were going to be off this weekend and not playing a Valley team, certainly out of the chute at home.
Yeah, that's got to be a really tough draw. You're having a record year, and you think you get this weekend off, and then all of a sudden you get the team that North Dakota's record is what it is. But in terms of who can battle against the North Dakota States and the Montanas of the world, at the very least, UND's proven that is that team. Right. And so I'm not surprised at the Vegas lines I'm seeing out there that basically is making this game, pretty close to a 50-50 matchup. I'm very curious to see what their turnout's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've talked on this program a lot about Thanksgiving weekend being really rough when it comes to the crowd. And so, it sounds like there's some renovations going on at the stadium, which is going to make everybody be on one side of the field. I don't know if that's going to improve the atmosphere or make it even weirder, but I don't expect a massive turnout by any means.
They have a quarterback that we are familiar with, and Kakoa Vesperis, from former Eastern Washington quarterback. He was the guy who played for Eastern at U.S. Bank Stadium against the Bison. Now he's still going. He can move. Nimble guy. I talked with Eric Schmidt about this. We're going to have our conversation tomorrow. If he's similar to anybody, the only guy he came up with, Tom, was Bo Brungard. And he's not built the same as Bo, but he can certainly move around like Brungard can. And UND, frankly, was the best team defensively against Youngstown all year long.
Yeah, I think if North Dakota has to feel good about something, it's that Brungard didn't really hurt North Dakota. I mean, I say that, and he still probably had 70 yards rushing, but in his terms, that's not
correct.
Killing you.
Well, and it was 28-0, right? And UND was up on Youngstown State. That game was completely lopsided to start.
So you've got Brungard that you've done well against. DJ Williams, Cole Payton didn't hurt UND with his legs so much. The Ayat at Montana can be very elusive. So, I mean, when we talk about, the number one strength of schedule in the FCS being battle tested, I think, having faced all these quarterbacks, he's got to compare to somebody. So I think UND's done a pretty good job to this point with mobile quarterbacks, which is funny because that was their Achilles heel.
Tell us about UND's quarterback. Jerry Kaminsky started a house of fire. Last 5 obviously did not play well. Where do you consider him at right now? We need you to go play well to win a game on the road in the postseason.
Yeah, I think that the UND's really trying to find how to get him to where he was at that 5-game winning streak. Obviously, part of that is who you're playing. South Dakota, South Dakota State, North Dakota State. But even the Murray State game, things didn't look as in sync as they did early in the year. And I think part of that is spreading the ball around. Early in the year, Jerry Kaminsky was very successful finding 10-plus guys a game. And I think, as the seasons went on, injuries have impacted this a little bit, especially at tight end. But I think North Dakota has to get back to really distributing the ball, allowing Jerry enough time to get through his reads to do that. But I think that's going to be the focus is can they get Jerry Kaminsky back to the version that can distribute the ball to anybody on the field.
We mentioned Z-Barth, Tom. What's UND's other health status at? Any other guys coming back? We know certainly secondary's gotten beaten up over the last 3 weeks too.
Yeah, the secondary is going to be a really big question mark just because you're down to, within your top 3, you've got 2 true freshmen, one who hasn't played at all, and Evan Klutt, really. So it's Bennett Walker hobbling around and Grant Nolan. And so at corner, they're in a tough spot. But in terms of guys that are getting back, you might see like a Braden Moore at defensive end who basically hasn't played in 2 years because he's had season-ending injuries early in the last 2 seasons. So they're hopeful to get him back. I'm not sure if they're quite there on Henry Theobald, who's another guy who had a really devastating injury that's coming back. So that they're beat up a little bit, especially at corner. And so I'll be curious to see how those guys hold up here.
I'm interested your thoughts on because we talked early in the year, I think maybe in October when UND was racking up wins, and I think I asked you about even to Schmidt being ahead of schedule. If they're able to get a playoff win in year 1, that's got to be light years above even what the most ardent booster would have thought when they hired him back in December of last year?
Yeah, I think, expectations changed after Kansas State, after Montana.
You're right.
Which were still losses, but expectations kind of changed. But yeah, I would say when he gets hired, if you say that you go and you win a playoff game against a quote unquote number 6 team in the country, I think that's going to be a success. I think that's probably why Eric Schmidt was probably happiest about this situation and getting into the playoffs is the fact that the other Dakota schools can't hammer your kids about
use
that
them against them. Yep, correct.
I think the
absolutely
the optics of being done right now versus having another game to play.
Absolutely.
Really important.
Yep, you're totally right.
I think as I came into this year, my thought was UND has to feel like you just can't have this season really blow up to allow Eric Schmidt to implement the things he wants to implement, because I think there are a lot of big picture things that he's doing well that are going to take time.
With signing day also being a week from today, it's a big deal as well. If those teams are still playing football, that's something I know I've seen it here that coaches brag, hey, we're still playing. UND hasn't had an opportunity to brag about that. If they're able to win Saturday, that, hey, there's 16 teams left. We're still one of them, that, this is part of our incoming class. People might roll their eyes at me about it. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and we've talked about that this year is going to be one that the vultures are going to come for your guys,
Yep.
and that's a good place to be in recruiting. If vultures aren't coming for your guys, then you don't have the right guys.
Yeah.
And I think that's where UND's at right now, is they're white knuckling a few of these guys right on into signing day.
Is there ones you're especially that you think of that are off the top of your mind that might be ripe for picking?
Yeah, well, they lost the big tight end out of Wisconsin who flipped. The ones that have been on the radar forever have been the Beaver twins, the big defensive tackle boys out of Kearney, Missouri, which is the same high school that Grant Nolan, UND corner, is at. I think the Mac's been sniffing around a lot there. I think UND feels okay about certain Mac schools sniffing around on certain guys. But if the big state schools start coming around, you're in a tough place. And so, I think they're happy that that's a December signing period and not a February signing period.
Last thing, we were talking off air. Tennessee's a new state for you. You conquered the whole West in the Big Sky. How many do you have left then on the map?
Yeah, I think the last time I counted, it's been a while since I've crossed a new one off. I think like 35 states.
There we go.
I've covered UND sports. So, yeah, Nicholls State got me Louisiana a few years back. Tennessee Tech gets me this one. I got a few out east to cross off.
And you mentioned as well, do we have another tent locker room situation like the Nicholls debacle of 2019?
Yeah, and I ran into UND's equipment guy, Travis Caldwell. He wanted to make sure that I cleared this up, that UND will not be in tents, that they will be in, I believe it's the home locker room, but it's in a primary locker room.
Okay.
And that Nicholls State will be in, or I'm sorry, Nicholls State, Tennessee Tech will be in tents.
Wow.
So you and you'll be all right, but it was close to a Thibodaux, Louisiana situation.
Man, that was so bad. The flashbacks of you talking about that are crazy. Have a great Thanksgiving, bud. Safe travels, and we'll look forward to your coverage coming up on Saturday. Okay.
Sounds good. Good to chat with you. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving.
You too, bud. There he goes. Tom Miller joining us from the Grand Forks Herald. UND, Tennessee Tech coming up on Saturday at noon o'clock in the opening round of the FCS playoffs. I got an email actually about this. I wish I had a better answer that came in earlier. This is when Coach Polasek was here in studio asking about the timing of all the games, because as you saw it on our graphic there, either most are 11 a.m. or noon for the opening round. That's all controlled, honestly, by ESPN. Says maybe I missed it, but was there any reason given as why all the first and second round games are scheduled for noon local times? As a fan, it'd be ideal to be able to have them at a couple different times at least, like noon, 3, 6. Hey, I'm all with you there. I'd like to spread them out, but ESPN Plus, ESPN runs this thing in conjunction with the universities. I think there's some that, especially Thanksgiving weekend, if we have a chance to get a crowd, it's probably earlier than later in the day. They're probably thinking, because you look at these 8 Brookings, it's not going to be good. Vermilion, it's not going to be good. I'm going to tell you that right now. Youngstown is not going to be good, even though those teams draw fairly well. Those are not going to be good. Villanova is not going to be good. If you're telling me off the top of my head who's going to have the best home attendance this weekend of the teams playing, let's see. Southeast Louisiana, probably not. Abilene Christian, maybe. Let's put our money on ACU. When we come back on Monday, let's see the best attendance of the weekend. They might have it number one there. But I don't have a better answer for it because I know in the next round, and the Bison have a basketball game that night, a home basketball game with Northern Arizona. So they were hopeful that, hey, if we want people to go to both, you can do that now. You know, the football game's at noon. Game is over by 3. Go have some supper and then come over to the Shack to watch Dave's team play at 7. That's kind of what they're hoping for on that particular day. But honestly, they're at the whims of most of the times of television and when they're playing. All right, let's break. We come back. We got to salute a first-time champion. University of St. Thomas has its first NCAA qualifier. We'll tell you about that. Hot Mic rolls on this Wednesday morning. We're back after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Concordia men's basketball coach Tyler Bormann going to join us about 10 minutes. Cobber's got a big win. They're off to a good start. We'll chat with him coming up here in just a few minutes. So last night, in case you missed it, we had some history down in Brookings as the Summit League volleyball tournament wrapped up last night. South Dakota State was going for perfection. The Jackrabbits did not lose a regular season match. Again, they were undefeated in the conference tournament. They won their opener, beating the Bison on Monday. They were facing the University of St. Thomas last night on their home floor for the automatic bid to the NCAA volleyball tournament. And then a funny thing happened on the way to that coronation. Nobody gave the message to St. Thomas that they were supposed to just roll over, because the Tommies came out and played maybe, arguably, their best match of the year and knocking off South Dakota State in a road game. You can see it was a great crowd. Even the terrible weather conditions were awful for people trying to get from Sioux Falls to Brookings last night or anywhere along I-29, considering it's still closed. The Tommies took the first 2 sets. The Jackrabbits won the third. And then in the fourth set, St. Thomas just kept on applying pressure. There, that ace to get them to match point. And then this was the winning point that couldn't be returned to secure St. Thomas the Summit League Volleyball Championship, 3-1 over South Dakota State to send the Tommies off to the NCAA tournament for the first time. And I tweeted this out last night. So the trivia question, when we get asked about it here years down the line, of the the first team that qualified for the NCAA Division I tournament from the University of St. Thomas, it's not basketball, it's not football, not baseball, it is volleyball that is going. And remember, they haven't been eligible for any other conference tournaments outside of basketball over the last couple of years. If you can explain that to me, you're a smarter person than I as well. Baseball, they've been ineligible. Softball, no. Volleyball, no. Basketball, obviously, we know what happened last year. They made it all the way to the men's tournament championship game and got beat by Omaha. Now they have gotten over the threshold. South Dakota State at 23-4 is still going to get a at-large berth. I think I'm not a great volleyball bracketology mind, but when the selection show comes out on Sunday, I have to anticipate that South Dakota State is going to have its name called. This is the second year in a row the Jacks dominate and then lost the conference tournament championship. South Dakota got them last year. But all credit to St. Thomas. And again, this is talking about location for their university with certain programs. Basketball comes to mind. Hockey comes to mind. Volleyball comes to mind. Baseball does as well. Baseball, they've been fantastic the last couple of years, and they've been eligible for the tournament. Now they are. They're going to host it this year. You watch this spring, that St. Thomas team probably have some success. But volleyball is the first one to get over the hump and clinch the automatic bid. So congratulations to the Tommies. And I got to see Phil Eston a little bit throughout the fall and last week, their AD. This has been a whole production here for the last 5-6 years. From when the MIAC said thanks but no thanks, to the move up to Division I, to secure a conference invite, to go through the transition, to get a year lumped off of it. Because remember, they're still supposed to be ineligible this year, and they had that reduced by a year. This has all been, I don't know if ahead of schedule, but they're humming right now. And you can't just tip your hat to them and say, for the rest of the teams that are in the league, this is what you got to face, because they're not going away. So here in Fargo, in Grand Forks, Vermilion, Brookings especially, in Tulsa, like, okay, the gauntlet has been laid down here. They're serious about athletics. They want to win. They've certainly invested in it. We know that in basketball. That, okay, and where they're at is going to be awfully hard to say no to. If you're located in Minneapolis, and this has been for NDSU and SDSU especially, going down to the Twin Cities and getting who they want, especially the Jackrabbits for basketball, who they wanted out of there, that might be a full stop now. Because St. Thomas is going to have access to players and a facility. They could say, hey, you want to come play here? Be awfully hard to say no to that. Let's break. We come back. A guy used to go up against St. John's or St. Thomas. I'm not sure he's too upset that they're not there anymore. Tyler Bormann will join us. Concordia men's basketball head coach as the Cobbers get ready for a nice Thanksgiving holiday after a big win last night. He'll join us when we come back right after this. Welcome back. A little different look of downtown Fargo from this time yesterday. Heck, this time Monday. Sun was out. It was beautiful. Now that looks like winter. A little slow going, though, on my commute into work. For our next guest, they're still commuting. They weren't planning on it because Mother Nature took a turn yesterday for anybody who was heading east. The Concordia basketball teams certainly were. And the men picked up a nice win to get to 4-0 on the season, but their return trip was halted. Men's basketball head coach Tyler Bormann, friend of the show, we haven't seen him in forever, is good enough, on the bus on the way back. First off, glad everybody's good. Second, where are you guys at, and describe what the trip home has been like today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dom. I appreciate it. We are about 10 miles east of Moorhead, and so we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. It's been a unique trip, to say the least, but anytime you go on the road and get a win and just be together with your group, I think there's a lot of positives in that. And our group handled it really well last night. As you mentioned, we moved up our game time to try and kind of give us some time on the way back to take it slow. We got to St. Cloud, and, our bus driver's done a phenomenal job on the trip of just really being smart, being safe. And, I think around St. Cloud, he just said, Coach, I think we got to maybe consider pulling off. And at that point, there was no hesitation. We just said, yep, our player safety, obviously, and the safety of people on the bus is paramount. So we stopped at St. Cloud. We got a nap, maybe, is what I would call it. Like, I don't know that anybody slept much. But we let the plows do their job and got back on the road. And, yeah, we're excited to be home. So
that is small D3 kind of basketball at its very best, right? We just got to adapt, and this is what we got to do.
It is, man. You and I were joking, laughing about that. I know your affinity for planes, trains, automobiles, and that was my immediate thought this morning when I got up, Dom. Is like small college hoops, baby. You roll with it, right? And these are some of these things are like the memories our guys will remember.
Yeah.
Go on the road, get a really good road win. We're planning to stopping. We stop in St. Cloud. We don't play today, day off. So some of our guys were like, Coach, I'm going to use the hot tub. I said, that's great. Just don't wear your game shorts, right? Like, none of us packed to stay. So I said, you just cannot wear your game shorts in the hot tub. Other than that, yeah, we're good. So I think they had fun with it.
You're making memories, man. That's exactly what's happening.
Yep.
Describe the start to the year. Unbeaten. Is this what you thought, or have you played even above your own expectations to start the season?
That's a really good question. I think when you come into the year, with three seniors that you really trust, three guys that played a lot of basketball for us. You have a foundation of some things that you can maybe rely on every single night. But outside of that, Dom, we're really young. And so then you're just not really sure how ready some of those young guys will be right out of the gate. We love our roster. I love our group from the standpoint we're super connected. I think the thing of it with the start is two things that have proven true for me. One, I think this group can take a punch, and that's been really good to see. In every game, teams have made runs on us, and we've responded. We haven't reacted. We've responded really well. The second thing is I think this group just loves being together. And you can't really put a statistical. You're not going to see that in the analytics, right? It's just a group that just likes playing together. And so when we get in those moments where a team makes a run and we get outside of ourselves a little bit, I think youth will do that. The coach in us, we're always nitpicking, like we need to be better. And trust me, we do need to be a lot better. I mean, we're 4 games in. But, I told our staff last night, like with some youth on the perimeter, we're going to get outside of ourselves at times. Like, we're not going to play this early in the year 40 minutes of really controlling both ends of the floor. But when we got outside of ourselves last night, I was really proud of how we found our way back into our lane, so to speak. In the second half, I thought we just really controlled the tempo of the game, which for us, we need to do because I think it makes us really, really hard to beat on both ends of the floor. I mean, we had 42 points in the paint last night, and that's something we really stress, putting a lot of rim pressure on the D. We were 5 of 9 on paint threes. We're going to get some threes up, but for us, it's like, what are they coming off of? And they were coming off of paint touches where they were rhythm threes. I just think that makes us really difficult to guard. If you look at our personnel, we're being led by Jacob Cook, who's averaging, nearly 23 a game, 23 and 10, and can score it at all 3 levels. And then Jackson Logie's averaging 13 and 14 and a half boards. He had 16 rebounds last night. I told our staff on the bus, I'm like, are we sure? Because those were the quietest 16 rebounds. But I think I've just grown accustomed to him just going and getting boards, on both ends. And then, we've gotten tremendous contributions from Peyton Shell. Peyton Shell is having a phenomenal start to his college career. He's averaging 18 a game, shooting 50% from the arc. Last night he hit a couple of big ones. He's a young man who's been really well coached. Okay, Dean Winchesky did a phenomenal job with him at Minot High. Luke Bormann did a really good job in the AAU season. And, Luke and I share a lot of values in terms of how this game should be played. Play really hard, play with a toughness level that gives you a chance every night, share the basketball. And I just remember Luke telling me, Coach, you're gonna love coaching Peyton. He's about the right things. And I would say from the day he stepped on our campus, Dom, he's about winning plays, and then I think Peyton Belka statistically right now is probably the guy who flies under the radar a little bit, but he played 40 minutes last night, and he's doing that on almost a nightly basis. And he's a guy that I think we just have a tremendous amount of trust in. Defensively, he's always where he needs to be. He's willing to take on tough matchups, and we're always going to be about getting stops first. And Peyton's a guy, Peyton Belka, who just really embodies that. So those are kind of our big 4 to start. And to be honest, we're getting some contributions from some other guys on the bench, but I think we're going to need more from those guys as we move forward as well.
I was going to give you a hard time then. I remember interviewing Jackson Logie when he's still in high school. He's still playing there, and how big a deal to have that kind of experience to lead you this season?
Yeah, it's phenomenal because when you have a group of young guys, you need kind of that veteran leadership.
Yeah.
You need guys who have seen a lot in this game and have been through a lot in this game. And I think Jackson brings that for sure. And I think just all 3 of our seniors bring their own personality to the leadership part of this team, and that's been tremendous. And we need that to continue. Obviously, a lot of basketball ahead of us, but I'm really happy with kind of the grit and the toughness that our group has shown, because it hasn't been pretty always for 40 minutes, but I always say I don't mind that. As long as we come out 1 point ahead at the end, we're doing some things right.
All right, so now you're on the way home here. This is unscheduled. So now, what's the next couple days like? Do you separate for a little bit, or what's ahead before you play your next game next week?
Yeah, we had today as a planned day off, and so as soon as we get back here, our guys will be able to get home. Some of them went home last night, with their parents from the game. It made more sense. We were great with that. And then we'll be off on Thursday, Thanksgiving. And then we'll come back Friday night and we'll get we'll get our legs underneath us. I always say coming off of Thanksgiving, you got to have a practice that just kind of gets the Thanksgiving out of you, so to speak, before you can really get, really get after it on Saturday. So
what, you're used to going all over the place. Is this rare not to have a game over Thanksgiving? Because this is basketball heaven right now over the next few days.
Yeah, last year we went to Lincoln, Nebraska. We played in Nebraska Wesleyan's tournament, and we played two really good teams. I think we learned a lot from it, but I also kind of cursed myself the whole way back. Like, why did we do this? Just from the standpoint, it's just such a quick turnaround. Yeah. And the thing is, when you're at Concordia and you're the head men's basketball coach and the head women's basketball coach, you're going to be on the road quite a bit in late November and early December. It's just the way it works. And sometimes I think you got to be really smart about that stretch because while you're going to be on the road either way, I think you got to really give your guys a chance to be their best. And sometimes we've kind of hit a wall, and so I tried to schedule a little differently this year in hopes that it allows us to maybe not hit that wall earlier in the year. And each year we've kind of recovered and then we've come back and played really well in late January and February. We need to do that again, but I'd really like to see us not hit that kind of end of November, early December wall. So I'm hopeful that our schedule maybe helps and plays a role in that this year.
And the crazy part is, you well know, you're not that far away from the start of MIAC play. Like, it's right around the corner that you get started with that. So I'm assuming that's the schedule here is more conducive to get you ready for conference play.
It is, and we've played like last night. We played a team in North Central that's really athletic. I mean, Jeremy does a good job. They won 21 games last year. They won the NCCAA Division II National Championship, so the National Christian Colleges, Athletic Association Championship, and he returned almost everybody. So, I mean, we knew they were going to be really, really good. We had to get them to play kind of at our tempo. We had to get the game in the half court, and I thought for the most part we did that. Now, that's how MIAC games are played for the most part. We get a conference play. I always joke with people like, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking like parallel talent level, but our league's kind of like the Big Ten. Like, if you can't guard and you can't score in the half court, it's going to be a long year. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do, is be really efficient, be really, really tough to score on, keep people in front of us. Statistically through 4 games, that's what I've been really proud of. We've been to the free throw line 15 times per game more than our opponent. So we're guarding without fouling, we're getting to the line, and we're like plus 7.5 in rebounding margin. You do those two things, like, I'll be honest, it's hard to lose games if you're getting to the line that much and you're out rebounding teams by that type of margin. So we have to keep doing that.
A couple of things here with Tyler Bormann before I let him go. All right, you're a great basketball mind. You know the state of Minnesota well. I've been trying to tell people what's coming with St. Thomas. Now they've got this palace they just built. How difficult is this going to be for the other Summit League, heck, anybody, to try and recruit down there knowing they got this now out there?
Well, you're not wrong very often, but in this case you might be, because I'm not a great basketball mind.
Come on now.
I'm not a great basketball mind. I will say I follow it obviously really closely. I think it's a gold mine of a situation, and Johnny Tower's the right guy for it. He knows St. Thomas through and through. It's a great job. I mean, I think it elevates the Summit because it brings in another team that I think is already a pretty recognizable brand in the Upper Midwest. And a team that I think is going to continue to put really talented, really smart basketball teams on the floor night in, night out. And I think it's good for the league overall. So, I'm not shocked in the slightest. That was my first game here coaching Dom in COVID with St. Thomas. Yeah. And I thought, okay, we got a ways to go, and knowing they were leaving the league, but okay, like this is a baptism by fire. So.
All right, last thing. So tomorrow, I know you mentioned you're going to your in-laws. What's the one that you got to have tomorrow? What's got to be on your plate? Like, there's no negotiating on this.
This might be controversial to some, but I'm a big ham guy.
Yeah, right? That's all right.
It's great, but I love ham at Thanksgiving. You can't beat ham with cranberries and potatoes and gravy. I'm a pretty simple guy, Dom. It doesn't have to be complex for me to enjoy it. I can tell you that.
So I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm late to the ham party on Thanksgiving. I am totally there with you. I'll do both. Turkey and ham. I'm good to go on that for tomorrow.
No question. And you know what? A good dessert. You got to have a really good dessert. And I don't have I don't have a big sweet tooth.
Yeah.
But after Thanksgiving meal, man, I'm all about it doesn't really matter what it is. I'm all about a good dessert after a good Thanksgiving meal.
I'm glad you guys are going to get home safe, man. That sounded like it was a scary night last night. Congrats on the great start. Happy Thanksgiving, and I'll catch up with you in the new year, okay?
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having us on, Dom. I really appreciate that.
Good to see you, bud. There he goes. Tyler Bormann,
Hey,
head coach
you too.
of the Concordia men's basketball team on the trip home after last night's wild weather, off to a 4-0 start. They're playing Morris coming up on Monday. Then it's off to St. John's to start MIAC play for them next weekend. All right, we've come to the end of the road. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll get you ready for a busy Wednesday and set up our Thanksgiving Spectacular. We'll do that and say goodbye on what's been a busy Wednesday show. Hot Mike will wrap on WDAY Extra right after this. All right, wrapping things up here on this Wednesday, day before the day. If you're traveling today, be safe out there. Looks like actually tomorrow might be the day to do it, because tomorrow it's just supposed to be a cold but nice day out if you're going anywhere. We will be back with you tomorrow. We'll have our annual Thursday Thanksgiving festival where I make everybody mad with what I like to what I consume on Thanksgiving. Actually, the big deal tomorrow for my son, he said, Dad, I'm going to have ham. I said, okay, bud, what about, you going to try some turkey? Yeah, I'm going to try some turkey. So that's the big goal for us tomorrow. I will, again, with Thanksgiving always used to be, all right, whenever the football is on, let's go. It's totally different now because my man, he's so excited for the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade tomorrow, and I'll watch it with him because there'll be some stuff that he loves. He's excited about whenever the Pokemon people are going to be there. I think Spider-Man, that'll get my attention. It'll be there tomorrow. So, yeah, the football might be on as well. I believe the Lions are wearing their old throwbacks tomorrow. Let's go. Good idea on that, but it's a completely different outlook. I'm assuming this is true for all parents, so I can certainly say that since I've become a dad. It's a way, way different deal. So that's coming up on our show tomorrow. Looking forward to that, and we'll do picks here. I'm just looking back at my emails here. I know Maddie's doing graphics for us. Do we have any pie left? It was Pie Day was yesterday. She delivered the French silk pie. Was tremendous with a capital T. We might have to fight off anybody else in one any. But that was highly successful here at the station yesterday. Again, if you missed our start of our show, we had Tim Polasek here in studio for his first interview after the announcement yesterday of him agreeing to an extension for unspecified amount of money. And you can go back. It's going to be posted later here shortly after we're done. You can go back and watch the full half-hour conversation that he had. And I think there's a couple things, again, to take out of this before we wrap our show today. One, he said it was more about the years than it was about the money, which, okay, take that for what it's worth. I can confirm that he definitely turned a job down, an FBS job down on this. So if you want to put two and two together here, the only logical thing on this is, okay, if he's turning down an FBS job, it's not to stay at an FCS job. It's one that, okay, they believe that there's something either imminent or on the horizon, however you want, whatever adjective or description you want to use with it, that something's coming in regards to the football bowl subdivision or 1A football, however you want to describe it, that is in the offing for North Dakota State. So that maybe this upcoming year is the last go-around in FCS football because we're too late in the game for 2026. Conference affiliations, you don't do that this late in the game. That this has got to be the long game for 2027, And that's not to say we couldn't be in the same exact boat a year from now, but the money is, in a sense, again, it's got to be something that's really going to knock him off his feet. And we talked about that once this whole thing got going, that it was going to have to be a job that would be really appetizing. The money's certainly going to be there, and that's going to be hard to say no to. And, again, the access to winning component is a large deal in this. And he said it here. We're humming. We know we can do it here. Let's go. You know, they're in a position with their NIL fund that they feel pretty darn good about. The fact that they can go and talk to 20 guys, their top 20 as he called it, and fund that. Man, that's not happening at all the Power 4 schools right now, the bottom 4, and certainly not the G6 ones, the group of 6 schools that Oregon State is. They're going to say they're in the Pac-12 next year, but it's not the Pac-12 that you and I know. It's a Pac-12 now with some Mountain West schools, and Oregon State and Washington State are in there, and Gonzaga's in there for basketball. So totally different deal. Good stuff there, and again, if you missed it, it'll be podcast later. Let's do some what to watch before we get out of here. All right, what to watch brought to us by our friends at Northwestern Mutual. All right, we've got the Wolves and the Wild playing tonight. The Wolves are playing their final regular game of the NBA Cup. They have to play the Thunder, and they have to win if they want to move on. That's at 6:30 on ESPN tonight. The Wild are in action. Boy, the Wild are they a wagon? Can I say that without Sam here? They're playing the Blackhawks. 7:30, that's on ESPN Plus. That's exclusive on ESPN Plus tonight as they take on Connor Bedard and the Blackhawks, and a pretty good college basketball slate of games tonight from Vegas, Gonzaga and Michigan to wrap up the Players Era Festival. That's at 8:30 on TNT tonight. That should be a pretty darn good game tonight to wrap up the before Thanksgiving feast. For me, one option tonight. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is tonight. That's the viewing here. We got to roll. We'll see you tomorrow.